raining this morning, but now it has stopped. Still kind of cloudy. That makes perfect top-down weather. If you missed my last video, you don't know that I'm going to start doing some, not too many, but some car vlogs and some videos about cars. Still going to be a motovlogging channel, primarily motovlogs, but I like cars. Maybe some of you like cars, so I'm going to throw these in there. As some of you may know, I had a Pontiac Fiero before this. It was a 1986 Pontiac Fiero V6 SE, and it was pretty cool. But I sold it to get this 1997 Mazda Miata M Edition. So I'm going to compare what it was like owning and driving that compared to this, and why I sold that to get this. Fieros, you don't see a whole lot of them. They have kind of a cult following. If you've owned one, you probably love them. They're pretty cool little cars. Let's talk about the obvious differences. That was a V6, this one's a flat 4. But they surprisingly make about the same amount of horsepower, around 130-ish, which doesn't seem like a lot, but they're small, light cars, so they'll go. They're not super quick, but they'll go. The Fiero, however, was mid-engine, almost rear engine. And rear-wheel drive. This one is front engine rear-wheel drive. It's a roadster. My Fiero was a 4-speed manual. This one is a 5-speed manual. I've always liked Toyota MR2s, and I couldn't find one. They're kind of hard to find. I like the first generation the best. So I found a Fiero that was pretty cheap, and I bought that. It only had 70-something thousand miles on it. The Fiero, it's a longer car. They're about the same height. It's a lot heavier car, believe it or not. It's got a fiberglass body, but what most people don't realize is it's got a layer of steel underneath the fiberglass, so it's not as light as you would think it is. It feels light to drive, but nothing really compares to a Miata. Nothing affordable compares to a Miata. Do you see that thing? There's a lot of those around here. Impala with like 35-inch wheels. But that guy's playing Pokemon. I'm just gonna do a moto vlog where I go downtown and just see how many people are playing Pokemon. The Fiero is definitely not a car I would recommend as a first car or a first rear-wheel drive car. It's fun to drive, but it's kind of hard to drive. Driving that stick shift, that was the hardest shifting car I've ever had. It's all cable linkage shifting, while the Miata, it goes straight into the transmission. But the Fiero, the gears were so close together, and it was just really stiff and hard to put into gear, hard to find the gears. People who drive manuals all their lives, I'd let them drive it, and they'd have trouble until they got used to it. The Miata is super easy to learn. This would be a great learner car if you're trying to learn to drive a manual. The Miata, it's noticeably lighter. It's easier handling. It doesn't have a lot of leg room. I'm between 6'1" and 6'2", and I can fit in it, so most people are going to be able to fit in it. Even when the top's up, I can like sit up like this and stuff and my head doesn't touch the top. I've got some room. The Fiero, you sit a lot lower down in the car. The seats are basically on the floor. These ones are up off the floor quite a bit, so you feel a little bit higher. Fiero also, it has no engine in the front, so they give you plenty of leg room. Like, I could make it to where my legs, I have long legs, I could make it to where my legs didn't bend at all. And the Miata, it's a little cramped. I don't mind it. Some people do. But if I could fit, like I said, most people could probably fit. Unless you're just crazy tall, you're a giant or something. Drive-wise, in the corners, the Fiero and the Miata are both excellent. The Fiero had a lot less body roll. Whenever you take sharp turns with this, you can feel it tilting. The Fiero was just like flat the whole way. But then something about that mid-engine rear-wheel drive layout of the Fiero, it felt like you never had good traction, and it felt like your back wheels were just gonna fly out at any moment. But with the Miata, you feel planted at all times, and I never have that fear. In the rain, the Miata is much better. I was afraid of driving the Fiero in the rain. It's a death trap, really. I would avoid taking the Fiero out in the rain. The Miata drives fine in the rain, but in the snow, the Fiero is amazing. In snow and ice, all the weight's over those rear wheels, and you can just go. I never had a problem in snow and ice. The Miata, on the other hand, if there's a nice layer of snow or ice on the ground, you're not going anywhere. It just spins and spins. Acceleration, it's about the same. I think the official numbers are almost exactly the same. But the Miata just revs way more freely. The Fiero had really tall gears. That might have been also because it was a 4-speed. But the gears were really tall. It felt like it just took forever to rev up. This thing, you just touch the throttle and it flies to redline, so it makes it feel a lot faster than it is. Also, Fieros are known for their terrible brakes. People usually throw Corvette brake systems on there. I never did, and the brakes were terrible. Brakes on the Miata are fine. I wouldn't say they're anything special. The aftermarket for a Fiero is very small. Any parts at all for the Fiero. There are like 3 websites that specifically make stuff for the Fiero. So you can get parts if you really need them, but they're not cheap, and there's no market for it. And they pretty much designed the Fiero engine so that you couldn't do a lot of modifications to it. They didn't want their Corvette buyers to start buying Fieros if you could get the same performance out of a Fiero. So there's not a lot you can do to the V6 Fiero. The Miata, though, you can do all kinds of things to it. Supercharge, turbocharge, crazy exhaust systems. You can drop different engines in. Well, I guess there are quite a few engines you can drop in a Fiero, but that's the only way you can get more power out of it. Like the 3800 supercharged engine from the Grand Prix, I think. Those fit in it pretty much bolt in. But it gave you like 180 horsepower or something, not that much. There are Miatas out there making 300 wheel horsepower with turbochargers. You can do all kinds of stuff. There are just loads and loads of sites that sell Miata specific parts and make Miata specific parts. Storage space, the Fiero had none. The trunk was designed to fit 1 bag of golf clubs, and I don't even think you could fit a bag of golf clubs in there. It was ridiculous. This has a small but full trunk, and it's also got this shelf back here. You can't see it because the top sits on it, but when the top's up, it's a nice little area. You can keep quite a bit of stuff back there. If you don't like Miatas or haven't driven a Miata or make fun of Miatas, don't knock it till you try it, because there's a reason this is the best-selling sports car in the world, and they're still making it. They started in 1989, and they're still making them today. They're just awesome cars. There's nothing like driving a Miata. I've driven a lot of cars, I've owned a lot of cars, and I came back to the Miata. I've always liked the Miata. They're affordable. They're super reliable, too. This one only has 78,000 miles on it, but I've I've seen them running perfectly with over 300,000 miles. My third ever car was a Miata, and I was just instantly in love. And I wanted one ever since, but I went through a couple different cars. I could never really find one for a good price because people try to get crazy amounts for these. When I found this one, they didn't know it was an M edition, so I got it for a steal. If you want to make somebody a car person, get them a Miata. If somebody needs to learn to drive manual, get them a Miata. If someone's looking for a fun, cheap, first car, sports car, go for Miata. Every single person who's made fun of me for driving a Miata over the years, they instantly stop and want one after I let them drive it. I really don't think there's anything I dislike about Miatas. They're great cars. Fieros are great cars too. I probably won't ever own another one. The Fiero was the car I've owned for the longest out of any car I've ever owned, and I owned it for about 3 years. But that's only because my first Miata died on me, and back then I didn't know much about cars, so I didn't really want to fix it. I just traded it off for something else. Like I said, Fiero, not a good beginner car, not a good first sports car. They're known for being a little dangerous. They're kind of like MR2s. They're just the layout of the engine and the drive and the weight distribution. Miatas have a 50-50 weight distribution. The Fiero did not. It's a recipe for disaster if you're not used to that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of people say the Fiero's all caught on fire, but literally only 400 Fieros were recorded as catching on fire, and they were all 1984 models. The 4 cylinders, I believe. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you like these, if you're a normal subscriber. If you're not a normal subscriber, check out my other videos. I've got a KTM RC390 I ride around. I just bought a Yamaha AT2 that I'm fixing up. I'm gonna ride that around. Consider subscribing, like, comment, share. Go check out my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Enter that. Don't forget to grab some stickers. There's links in the description box below. If you wait till the end of the video, I've got a picture of what they look like. I have 3 different styles. And if you guys are interested in shirts, I'm giving a shirt away for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. But if you're interested in maybe buying some, let me know, and I'll try to get those out and put up for sale. So thanks again for watching. Next few videos will most likely be moto vlogs, of course. It'll probably be a while before I get another car video, and I will see you in the next one.